I think it starts in the childhood. And if you look at all entrepreneurs, and somewhere in their childhood, they were just different. It is said that there are more C students that are millionaires than A students that are millionaires. I mean, if you look at that direct line, most times a C student can't focus. He's all over the place. He's arts and craft, he's reading and writing, he's lunchroom, he's gym, he's all over. He's not necessarily mastering one particular thing. He's all over the place, whereby a student is mastering every class that is given to them. And you can follow that concept that they can follow orders. Sometimes a C student just can't follow orders, because he's too busy. But at some point, he begins to master something. And once he mastered that, he's locked in, and they go from there. And it's in every great entrepreneur. They might have had a lemonade stand, a paper route, some type of recycling, whatever it might have been, as they were coming along in life. And that's, I feel, are those things that make those guys good, great, better than the rest of us.
I'm Gabe Puente, CEO of RG Vision Media, and this is our podcast, where all entrepreneurs, small business owners, and leaders come in to get insightful information from other business owners in our network of individuals who can add value to your company, organization, or business. Maurice, thanks again for coming in to the RG Vision podcast. It's always good to have you.
Thanks for bringing me back. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
I think I just love having conversations with you. I really do.
We should keep it on going. We shouldn't stop this then. If that's the
because
case.
Because it's real. It's real talk. You're a real entrepreneur. You're a business owner. You've been through it, and so I'm sure everybody who has been down that path can relate. To the certain things that you've gone through, and some of the things that I've gone through as well. But ultimately, it's understanding the mindset of a true entrepreneur, right? And what separates you from everybody else. Because like we had talked about before, people could be in a corporate world, but not everybody has the innovation to do something innovative, or doing something different. And so we first offline, we start talking about, I was like, hey, what makes you different from everybody else? What makes any other small business owner different from somebody who is thinking about that idea, right?
I think it starts in the childhood. And if you look at all entrepreneurs, and somewhere in their childhood, they were just different. It is said that there are more C students that are millionaires than A students that are millionaires. I mean, if you look at that direct line, most times a C student can't focus. He's all over the place. He's arts and craft, he's reading and writing, he's lunchroom, he's gym, he's all over. He's not necessarily mastering one particular thing. He's all over the place, whereby a student is mastering every class that is given to them. And you can follow that concept that they can follow orders. Sometimes a C student just can't follow orders, because he's too busy. But at some point, he begins to master something. And once he mastered that, he's locked in, and they go from there. And it's in every great entrepreneur. They might have had a lemonade stand, a paper route, some type of recycling, whatever it might have been, as they were coming along in life. And that's, I feel, are those things that make those guys good, great, better than the rest of us.
Is it the Haymon mentality? Remember the In Living Color? Do you
I'm at job, you got mine.
Yeah,
tree job, you're lazy.
You're lazy. When I was your age, I had a lemonade stand.
Yes.
So the mindset, going back to mastery versus innovation, I mean, I've seen talented, highly efficient individuals that know ops, right? Operations, or they know legal people. And it's interesting. They come up with an idea, but I don't know. They're I guess it's comfort. Is it a comfort zone that they fall into?
No, let's be honest about splitting that mastery versus innovation. Mm-hmm. And we'll use Elon Musk. He's a great innovator. What has he mastered? Starlink, Tesla, any other opportunities and projects that he had going on? I mean, let's be honest. What did he do to Twitter? He blew it up. Yeah. Any businessman who looked at the P's and L's would not have blown Twitter up. Yeah. But he blew Twitter up, tore it down, financed the house and the farm to have it.
Yeah, it's getting comfortable with not being afraid of failure, right?
Failure is good. We teach our children never to fail, but guess what? Failure is the best lesson you can learn from, because now you know what not to do again.
Yeah. Yeah, failure is scary. I mean, speaking of Elon Musk, definitely hasn't mastered Tesla. What was that truck? That still hasn't come out. I remember when he brought that up. It was
I don't even know the name of it.
yeah, but I remember when he put it out there. He was like threw a bowling ball at it, and it was kind of embarrassing. But it was innovative, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And it's interesting where he is today, and putting himself on a stage like that. I mean, in most cases, some people be scared as shit, to do something.
That is very true. Very true. That is very true.
So, there is something to be said about, the entrepreneurs being able to jump off at some point. I was thinking about this as a talk I'm about to give here in a couple of weeks. Now, how does somebody I think of visualize cliffhangers, right? Or sorry, not cliffhangers, cliff divers, right? They didn't, just come out of the womb and say, "Hey, I'm going to jump off this cliff." They started at one point. Maybe it was just hopping off, 1 foot into the water. Later on, it's about 2 feet. Then they got diving board another feet, another 10 feet. And then they just build up to the point to where they just get used to, they're like, holy crap, wow, I'm jumping off of cliffs now.
To be honest, to be an entrepreneur, you must be a stunt man.
Yeah.
Because you can attract anything you want, but can you retain everything you acquire?
Yeah. It's stretching that. I mean, mitigated risk is important. Yes, it's important. You have to get comfortable with taking risks.
Yes.
And it's unfortunate that there are some. I mean, I speak about this. My personal walk. With it's seeing family members. My mother, she was like, "Oh, I wish I could have done this. Yeah, I wish I could have done this." Well, she's now.
Timing is everything.
Yeah.
And at a certain time when your mom was a young woman or my mom was a young woman, you're talking in the 60s or the early 70s, whereby women were not allowed or women just didn't get into that space the way they're getting into spaces now. I have a daughter, so I want that space open. I want that door kicked open by women today so that when she comes in the door, it's kind of like, hey, we've been waiting for you.
Yeah.
It's a lot of spaces that we just couldn't enter. As a female, hell, as a minority as well, to be honest with you. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But it's possible now that anybody can do anything at any given time. The power of the internet, the power of our phone, the power of our imagination, the power of ourselves. I always speak about there's two things in this world. There's odor and there's aroma. No one speaks about the odor. Everyone speaks about the aroma.
Yeah.
So you leave bad odor or you give good aroma. And those are the times that people have to accept you for what you're putting on the table.
Let's talk about, the mentorships, right? I've always believed that you have to have cross-generational relationships.
Correct.
People who, you are looking up as mentors 10 years ahead. It's like you're in a time machine. You want to talk to people that are 10 years ahead of you, 20 years ahead of you, 30 years ahead of you, even laying on their deathbed like at 90. You definitely want to have some type of relationship, because honestly, that there's, I guess, mortality sits in.
Yes.
At that
Yes.
age, there's something even to be said about sitting down and speaking to somebody who, has lived their life and can tell you, hey, this is what really matters in life. But also, having somebody maybe 5 years, ahead of you to help you keep going and getting a little bit more innovative in how you, hone in on your craft. But speaking of mentors, do you have any mentors or people that you looked up to or talked to as you were, traveling this whole entrepreneurship journey?
Well, to be honest, at any given time, you have 3 different generations in the workspace at all given times. Like right now, you had millennials, Gen X, and then you got the baby boomers. Baby boomers are exiting out. The Generation X is coming in. I don't know exactly how to number it, but that's what's happening. When I was a young man, there was a gentleman named Bob Dodd. Robert Dodd was his name. He was actually my 7th grade teacher's brother, who made me believe in myself. And I go back to saying that every great entrepreneur at some given time, they were entrepreneurs their whole life at the smallest level. And he helped me hone in as an entrepreneur without knowing it, because he was mentoring me as a young man, telling me, go to school, stay out of trouble, don't do drugs, etc., etc. And I was eligible to get that as a teenager. And I was eligible to apply that in my whole life without ever crossing the path of trouble, knowing to see trouble and to stay away from it. But when you have those different generations in your life, you got to talk to them. You have to talk to younger people. You have to talk to your peers as well as your seniors, because those seniors are vessels of information that is there for you to tap into. But if you don't tap into it, you will never know where you're going. It is said, if you don't know your past, you don't know your future. Mm-hmm. So you are your present, and you can talk to someone who has that knowledge, who has that. Because I use everybody as a mentor. Anybody that I know that's doing more or have done more, no matter what the business is, I'm willing to talk to them and ask them, hey, how did you do this? Hey, how did that happen? Because in order to be an entrepreneur, an innovator, and to master anything, you must stay curious.
Yeah.
You must stay curious.
Yeah, and obviously there's a lot of good advice and there's a lot of bad advice. So it's take the meat, leave the bones. But yeah, I've always thought about like, okay, who are the mentors and who's the next generation that I would like to mentor as well? Because we did talk about how everybody is using, Instagram and TikTok as, mentors that are there. We talked about, it was like, this is how I made $1 million in the past 24 hours, but click the link here before we get into this and then buy my program.
To be honest, everyone can't be a millionaire. There is no such thing as overnight success. You have to see your success in the success you've created. Everyone can't be on the wall of fame. Somebody has to be putting it up there. Hey, well, this is Gabe. Let me put this, this is Bob. But I believe that if you dig in yourself and into your character, I think anything is possible. I believe persistence outdoes resistance. People are going to tell you no. The first one's going to tell you no is probably your mom and dad, and the second one to tell you no is probably your spouse. But if you follow your heart and you do what you feel is comfortable inside you, because everyone can't see what you see. I think it was Jay-Z who said that he had his first demo tape. He brought it to his uncle. Was like, hey, guess what, uncle? Look, this is what I got. Listen to my tape. And his uncle told him, you'll never be better than LL Cool J.
Yeah.
But Jay-Z was strong enough to bypass that and continue to go on. And that's what I feel that you need to do. You can't listen to others. I mean, you have to listen to others, but you can't listen to the naysayers, because the naysayers is not in your brain. They can't see what you see. They can't see your vision. They don't have a strategy to see what you have.
I mean, I'm living proof of that exact same answer, but it was actually my mom. I came down.
We all have that story.
I was like, look, I want to start a publication that tells the story of the Rio Grande Valley, and it's going to be region-wide. It's like, why don't you become an insurance agent? There's a lot more security in that, right? This is like, but you don't understand. This is what I know I could do. This is the vision I have. I'm passionate about telling this. But, I had to somewhat bypass that, because what they don't know is what they don't know. And fortunately, we're living in an area, it's an emerging market, but there hasn't been as many innovators here in the Rio Grande Valley as it were before us.
Well, we have to look at it culturally. We have to look at it through generationally. Because I had the same experience, my mom wanted me to be a teacher because she felt security in being a teacher. Mm-hmm. Oh, you'll be a great teacher. Well, teachers never lose their jobs. That was her mindset. You always have security. Yeah. And when you come from a community or a culture or ideal where they needed food, clothing, and shelter, what can I provide for my child that can provide them an avenue that I didn't have to go through when I was coming along that age? Mm-hmm. Sometimes people will love you for your survival, and then sometimes people will love you for their survival, all depending on who you're talking to. So when we both have those same examples in our lives, it's because I know, knowing my mother, your mother, right. We know what they've been through, where they come from. Insurance is a safe bet. Mm-hmm. Education is a safe bet. So I love you enough to survive safe.
That's all that's what they knew. Like my mom. So that's what they knew. I go back and I say competence equals confidence.
Correct.
Right. So and now, which I'm excited about, especially for this region, because there are new jobs, there's new opportunities.
We're growing every day.
Generation coming in that sees opportunity. So look, hey, I'm confident in knowing that my child's going to do X, Y, and Z because we have more competence in certain fields, industries, even experiences in general.
If you think about the leaps and bounds of life in society, when we were young, there was 2 telephones, one in your parents' room and one in the kitchen. Now we have a phone in everybody's pocket, sometimes 2.
Yeah.
So you can see the technological advances that we've had, and we see as our community is growing here in the Rio Grande Valley that we're primarily projecting a technological community. We have LNG coming down at Brownsville. We have Elon Musk there with his rocket SpaceX. We have a lot of things that's really happening more than car washes, chicken joints, and coffee shops.
Yeah, Zoho in McAllen. Yeah.
We have a lot of things that's coming that I know that we can prepare our children for and mentor young people to see because of the competence and confidence that we have.
But I think that it's great, but Maurice, how do we get over the microwave mentality that this next generation has? Because they say, hey, I want to make $1 million.
To be honest with you, the microwave mentality has always been around. It just now has a name, microwave mentality. P.T. Barnum said there's a sucker born every minute. Yep. So those who think that they could just jump into an arena, pop, and make it right now will not sustain the long term. Those who come, build a good foundation, create a good product, a good strategy, they will be here for the long term. You did it, I did it, and all those in front of us did it, and they can do it behind us. Everyone is thinking the same. There are 3 spaces. There's a white space, a gray space, and a black space. You want to stay in the white space because the white space is the innovative space. The gray space is when people catching up and catching on. That black space is full. Nobody wants to be in it. You better don't even get to the black space because you got to know how to stay at the chalkboard creating ideals, knowing where the ideals are coming from. Because, like, let's say CBD. 2-3 years ago, it was just tickling the market. Yeah. When you can go to Walmart and get CBD, the space is full. When you go to 7-Eleven, this local Stripes get CBD, the space is full. So you have to stay in the white space. I tell anybody and everybody, never stop thinking, never stop creating, because that's when you get settled. That's when you're like, okay, I got it. I'm good now. Don't worry about it. No, you got to keep enhancing it. Sometimes you got to break it and rebuild it, break it and rebuild it to keep it going because every so many years, something's new coming on the market. And you got to have that new product on the market ahead of the rest. So stay in the white space, my friend.
There was a thing we talked about, and it's totally switching gears here about, being in a corporate environment where there's a set menu, there's set protocol, set programs, and you walk in, you do your job, and then you walk out. Yes. But there's certain individuals who have been in those scenarios where they've thought outside the box and have flourished from it, right? We talk about there's an individual here in the Rio Grande Valley. We actually did a story, on him. He started I wouldn't say he worked his way up, came from Mexico, actually was a doctor, lost his license, was a janitor at one of the Chick-fil-A's, and eventually saw him work his way up to a manager, and then eventually gave him his own franchise. One of the things that he did was switch up the menu, and added breakfast tacos to the breakfast menu at La Plaza Mall. And Chick-fil-A turned around and said, oh my God, they're looking at the P&Ls and what are you doing? This is actually helping us. And sure enough, they added it. But
serving your customer.
That's it.
Serving your customer. You have to have
But that was scary for him, I'm sure. And I'm sure, I know you have stories like that.
What is scary? What is fear? Because I love when I go to a barbecue place. Hey man, let me get a brisket sandwich. Oh, we got a brisket. Hey man, let me get we only got sausage. We got, how do you serve your customer? If I'm here at 12 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the product should be there regardless. You see the sign that says open, close when we run out. Yeah. Well, how about cooking an extra brisket because you're going to run out? I'm going to stop going to you because, they probably ran out. So why even go over there?
Yeah. So what you're saying is don't serve the machine, serve the customer.
Correct.
You ain't going to go wrong with that.
Absolutely.
with that formula.
Because tomorrow morning you can make that brisket a breakfast taco.
Yeah. I like it. Oh, man. So there's a lot of things that we definitely would love to talk about. I mean, I do want to maybe wait till next episode, but what else can we provide our listeners and anybody who's wanting to come up in the entrepreneurial world or start up their
The
own
thing
business?
that I like to tell people is don't give up. If you have something, go for it. Don't be afraid. Don't listen to the naysayers. Because there's nothing worse than looking over your shoulder, and when the sun is setting on you, and you say, "Only if, what if?" When you have that opportunity to leap, just leap. People have been leaping since the turn of time. It's amazing how we can just say the story of the world started out of Africa, and we touch every foot of the ground of the earth today because someone kept moving on. No one stopped. It's when you stop and you say, you look back 10 years, if I would have only did, what would have happened? And they say a coward dies 1,000 deaths. Well, an entrepreneur who never was an entrepreneur dies 1,000 deaths because you could have been that entrepreneur, but you never did it. Mm-hmm. I would always command and I would always tell people to go for it. Like you talked about the mitigated risk. Look at what your risks are. Sometimes you say, well, it's a high risk, but there's a high reward. There's a low risk, there's a low reward. Risk and reward, all those symbiotic relationships that go backwards and forwards with one another will always be there. And if you want to do this, get out and go do this. You're going to sweat, you're going to get mad, you're going to get angry, you're going to throw in the towel, but don't give up. I mean, because there's a lot of things out here for a lot of people to do if you're willing and wanting to do it. And I believe that if I can do it, you did it, anybody can do it. You just got to want to go do it. I mean, there's nothing that I could say that can make you do it or keep you from doing it. You have to have an internal button that make you go, I'm going to do this tomorrow morning. I'm going to get my business plan. I'm going to get my ideal. I'm going to get my loan, my funding, whatever it might be. Be it, you get the guys start up, like, let's say, a gym, mm-hmm. right? You start out training somebody, and all of a sudden you get 4 clients, 5 clients. Next you got enough clients to have a gym. Yeah. But it all starts with just one person. And it's one ideal and one item, whatever you're doing, just do it, and just max it out. Don't stop. It's impossible to stop something that you love and enjoy. And that's the bigger ticket. Whatever you're doing, love it. You get people that are being in industries who hate it, and all of a sudden go to another industry, through the roof. Yeah. But you'll never know if you don't try it. True. That's the thing. The best thing I can tell anybody, man.
Well, thanks again, man. Always good to have you.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right, man. Thanks again for listening to RG Vision Media Podcast. Look, if there's anything you want to hear about, listen to, be sure to follow us and also email us at info@rgvisionmedia.com. Stay tuned for our next episode.